One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS over.
What's going on, folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Knicks Wall Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Maggio, joined by my co-hosts, as always, Mike Cortez and Sean Geddes. We missed you guys. It's been a while. Life happens sometimes for all three of us at once, for some of us, and it just becomes difficult. But we are back after a very eventful summer. So a lot happened, a lot that we have to catch up on, from Kemba to Randall's extension to possible Mitch contract talk to the summer league. The rookies playing well. So we got a lot to cover here. We got a lot to unload. But Sean, how's everything?
I'm pretty great, bro. Very excited. The only downside is that there's some time between now and Knicks basketball again. But, Summer League coming along, the free agency frenzy, tweeting the Summer League games, doing, the pregame and postgame afterward. It was all super fun, and it got kind of back into the swing of things. Now we're back on the pod. So, I feel purposeful again. I got a little lost in the summer. I was like, if I'm not Knicks, Sean, who am I? But
Understood. I've had those thoughts before. It does feel strange sometimes when you take too much time away from the Knicks, even though, we're here all season. We're grinding all season. Sometimes you need a little breather, but yeah, I understand when you take a little bit too much time. But Mike, what's going on with you, buddy? How's everything?
I'm great. And as I'm waiting for the intro, I just realized this is probably the first season we're going to be obnoxious on here. Usually we've had to slow walk it, but Kemba Walker's here, boys. That's a star level score at point guard. We haven't had that in so long, and we're really going to be obnoxious. It's really hard to process that we have a team that we don't have to talk about developmental what ifs. We're actually good. And it's a hometown kid. I have waited so long for this. It's ridiculous.
How many years have I been in this podcast? I'm asking you guys. I'm asking everybody listening at home. How many years have I on this podcast said, just going into the offseason, I just need them to sign and draft just point guard. Just sign a bunch of guards. Don't stop doing it. Just keep signing, drafting, just as many as you can. Just keep throwing darts at the wall until something sticks. And son of a bitch, they did it. They went into... All I care about is they took the swings. And you take enough swings, and then eventually good things are going to happen when you're targeting that position. It's the most important position. That's it. I needed them to get creative after the 48 thing because I didn't love it. I was very vocal. I thought if that was the big move and there was nothing else coming, everything else was going to be really small, fringe signings like the Taj thing. I didn't like it at all. And then all of a sudden, Kemba gets signed for 2 years. What was it, 19 million?
I think 18 million.
18 million. Come on. It's free. Kemba came for free, basically. And look, I see Celtics fans, saying things like, oh, why are you guys that excited? That backcourt wasn't that great for us, whatever. Okay, listen. It literally is just the addition by subtraction. I've said it 1,000 times. It's just simply the fact that he's not Alfred Payton. This isn't even a Reggie Bullock disrespect thing because Reggie was good. He was just limited. But Kemba could have – I tweeted this. Kemba's knees could fall off the bone at MSG, and I would take that guy every single time over whatever peak Alfred Payton was playing for the Knicks because, come on. Even when Kemba was worse, right? I saw the numbers in those stretches. He's a little bit inefficient, right? We still dramatically could have used that version of Kemba. So no matter which way you cut this, you can't make us disappointed because it's Kemba Walker. And it's dramatically better than anything we've had. Our point guard situation is notoriously ass. 20 years, our lifetimes. We just don't have point guards. We just don't. If we do, it's just a fun veteran version of somebody briefly. Even Raymond Felton was just a little blip. It was a year and a half, and then okay, oh, that's what it's like to have a regular starting point guard, not even a real star. It was just a regular, competent dude who just I can score sometimes and pass sometimes. You know what I mean? It's now we got Kemba Walker, so hard not to be excited, man. It's a guard stable that I really just truly can get behind, and that makes me happy. That's why I don't even care about the 48 thing anymore. With some of the non-guarantees, the bonuses ends up being a little bit less money anyway. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. I almost want to walk back what I said in the first one. I'm having a ball this offseason now after the Kemba thing. It was like the last puzzle piece. Everything makes sense to me now. They drafted a bunch of guards that could do a bunch of stuff, catch and shoot guys, defensive guys. I mean, you can, if Kemba misses 20 games, you have Rose you could plug and play. If not, quickly could play more time. I mean, if or vice versa, Rose misses time. You know what I mean? Both miss time. Now you got the rookies that could step up quickly, step in. I mean, you can't make me upset now. You almost dummy-proof this, that you have to play guys that I'm going to enjoy. This is all that I wanted. I'm very excited going into this season. That you needed to give this to Randall and RJ. You needed to give them a bunch of guards who could do stuff. And they did. So I've been in a great mood since the Kemba thing. This has been very clear. I remain in this mood, and I very excited. Very excited to see him in MSG. He belongs here. We deserve a couple good years of this.
I'm literally overjoyed, man. To go from 30 minutes of Elfrid Payton to now 48 minutes of guaranteed good point guard play, like between Kemba, Derrick Rose, IQ. Like you said, if one of those guys gets hurt, we got McBride coming up. So it's just like, to have a guy like McBride and not have any minutes for him is kind of a beautiful thing. But like Kemba Walker, yeah, like it's a great story. And even watching his presser, like I literally got kind of emotional, like, you know, because I thought about it. Like I mean, I live in South Florida, as we all know, but the reason I am a Knicks fan is because I'm initially from New York. Like, and my dream was always I want to be the point guard in Madison Square Garden. Like, you know, all my players play for the Knicks. And, like, seeing Kemba in that moment, it's like, wow, he's really a kid that's getting to live his dream. Like, Fat Joe and the city's excitement. Like, you know, Kemba playing in the Garden for 41 games a year in the regular season. Like, I feel like he's definitely going to have a resurgence. He also said himself, like, you know, that this is the most time he's gotten off in a long time. And so I feel like he's going to be better health-wise. He said the knee feels good. So if he's healthy, even remotely, like Kyle said, like if he's 40% of Kemba Walker, he's better than our last point guard. I mean, when you go through Jarrett Jack, Ramon Sessions, Alexis Fed, like, you know, all these guys, Langston Galloway, no offense, that's my guy. All these, Emmanuel Mudiay, like all these other solutions we tried to have at point guard over the last few years, and it's like now we're definitely getting very solid production. The floor is open. Once again, I said it all year last year. No offense to Reggie, we had the worst starting backcourt in the NBA. That wasn't a result of injury or anything. Like we just our starting backcourt, and it was bad. So to go from Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock to Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier is such an upgrade. I don't even think that most people understand it. And it's really going to open the floor up. It's going to make life easier for RJ and Randall. And, you know, I just can't wait to see, like, dribble handoffs with Randall and Kemba and, like, the two-man game they run out of it. And, I'm just so excited for so many things. Mitch being back to lock the paint down. Like, it's going to be beautiful.
It's just to put this into context. RJ Barrett's played about 4,000 minutes. 3,300 of those came with Elfrid Payton.
Yuck.
And like RJ had this leap already with that. Now you add somebody that's a 3-level scorer that can close, which I think is the biggest thing they needed to address. And now you have a really good starting lineup. And Fournier obviously is an upgrade over Bullock, even though, you know, Bullock, we have love for him here. But that's a vast upgrade in terms of playmaking. I mean, Kemba, what's the only downside to him right now? It's his knee. And I wrote about it a couple weeks ago. Even if his knee isn't 100%, they have enough depth, as Kyle mentioned, where you could put him on a Kawhi plan where he plays maybe 1 out of every 3 games for a stretch and just make sure he's ready for the playoffs. Because when it gets to the half court, that's exactly what you need. We saw it at UConn. We saw it in Charlotte. Like, he helped turn around the Hornets, which is kind of underrated just because his UConn run was so prolific. But he helped turn around the Hornets franchise. Boston loved him. And I just think on the court, in the locker room, like everything you hear, he kind of fits the ethos that Thibodeau, RJ, Randall have helped develop over the last few years. Thibodeau in the last year. And I feel like everything just hit every marker with this signing, man. We really we haven't had a point guard that you could just refer to as one name since Marbury. Like Kemba, man, like that's really like something to be excited about for a while. And Eli wrote a really good piece on competing now while also looking towards the future, because if Kemba's right, man, that's Knicks are a playoff team in my eyes. I don't know about you guys. I'm feeling pretty damn bullish.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely to me they're definitely a playoff team. I don't know how you could say otherwise. I'm very bullish on that because look, every team improves every offseason. That's just the way that it goes. I think the East is very, very tough in general. I think the Knicks now play in the toughest division in the NBA. That is the Atlantic Division. The only other answer you can give me is the Pacific, but I'm only saying Atlantic for sure right now because Kawhi's not healthy. Otherwise, I would agree. That's probably it's right there. But to me, it's 1A, 1B. You know, Atlantic Division used to be a joke. Knicks are playing tough teams now, and last year we saw that they could beat the Celtics. They could hang with the Nets, certain versions of the Nets, but they were still hanging with them. And the whole point is, you know, I see people saying stuff like, well, I wonder if the stuff with the Knicks is replicable again. And I think it's fair. I think you should always want to wonder that with a team that was that big of a success story from, you know, 2 years ago to last year, how big they took a leap. But my thing is, I just don't know what wouldn't be replicable about certain things. Like, and there's a lot of speculation with the Randall stuff if he could do it again. But to me, I don't think he did anything wild. I've made this point the entire season. It was not like this big transcendent jump. I mean, it was and it wasn't, right? Like, clearly he took a leap, but at the same time, it wasn't like he was scoring, you know, 10 more points a game, right? He was just, it was literally 4-ish more points a game, right? A couple buckets, free throws, threes that he was making. That's it. The assists, he was getting 3.5 assists prior. Now he was getting 5, 6. Like, all that means to me is consistently he's keeping his head up, you know, those extra couple times a game, which helps them win basketball games. He learned to be a better defender alongside Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel. We figured out a center that works well for him, which, you know, going back, Mike, a long time ago when we were making those KP and Randall arguments, that was sort of why we thought they, at least defensively, could work together. Because Randall now, that's like the exact sort of defensive, you know, you need a long, big rim protector that's going to be able to rotate and help quickly for him and allow Randall to stay physical and aggressive. And now he's unleashed that way. So I just don't know what can't be replicable. Because to me, like, okay, even if you can't say top 4 defense again, you could afford to lose some of the defense because you needed offense. Like, even with the Fournier thing, like, again, when it was just that, and I was suspicious about even still our guard play and everything, but, you know, now I just feel like you have so much, you have an abundance of it at the guard position, and that's what you sort of need to get by, some version of it. I think even if these guys aren't elite or anything, or even terrific next year, this stable, I think, will more than keep them afloat because everybody's now a creator. Like, that's all we were missing. You know, more than just a guy who can make shots like Reggie, like actual creation. So I just don't know what all the cause to be suspicious, like, you know, this low on the Knicks is all that I'm saying. I'm not saying you got to be high on them. I've seen some Knicks fans talking about 50 games and everything. You know, we should be a little bit bullish. You should feel good after, you know, you upgrade after a 41 win season in 72 games. But I'm getting a little bothered by that argument now is all that I'm saying. I think most of what they did in that system with Randall is still going to work. Those pistol sets and everything, you could run that stuff with Fournier. In fact, you can now run more off of that set. You can now start to layer that better than you could with Reggie. You know, you could, again, I gotta hope Tibbs is getting creative, but there's so much that you could do with having a dynamic player like Randall locked in for 4 years. That makes me even happier. But I don't know. I'm not worried about that at all. I think worst case they win 45ish, like sort of thereabouts where they would have been again. You know, to me that's fine. All you got to do is just keep making the playoffs now and seeing how far you can get. This team was now constructed to get to the second round. That's the way that I'm looking at it. You know how I hate this championship or bust mindset shit we always do. This team is simply made to build off of last year. Last year they made the first round, they got spanked. Now they're looking to win a first round series. That's it, and you can go from there. I think that's a reasonable goal. I think people have been a little too low now.
Yeah, and I think that angle is kind of lazy when it's taken toward the team and taken toward the Randall. Like, yeah, Randall regressing. I keep asking for the basketball reasoning behind that. Like, I want to understand, like, what people are basing that on when they make that claim as if it's inevitable. Because, I mean, okay, he shot 41% from 3. So maybe he doesn't shoot 41% again. Maybe he shoots 37. At that, he's not going to go back to shooting 29. Like, it's just not going to – I don't see why. Like, Randall has improved literally every season of his career, and all of a sudden now, after winning Most Improved Player and then getting a better team around – like, he was sharing the floor with Elfrid Payton last year. He was running pick and rolls with Elfrid Payton, where nobody cared about the pick and roll ball handler. and he can get doubled from whatever angle. So it's just like now the floor is opened up for him. He's got another year of being a number one, another year of gelling with the team, another year under Tibbs, another off-season of work, and for some reason he's just supposed to get worse because everybody said so. I don't understand that. Maybe the usage will go down, but I think because of that, the efficiency will go up. So I don't think that what we saw from Randall last year was an anomaly. I think that he's going to be a top caliber player in the NBA for pretty much the duration of this contract. Like he has it, he wants it, and it seems like we have a formula that he's kind of figured out. And beyond that, I'm one of those fans. I'm one of those 50-game fans. I'm not guaranteeing 50 games, but I think that because of the upgrades we've made, because of where we were last year and what we can build on from it, and the fact that we have excellent depth, I think we have a top 3 bench in the NBA, and I think even that is me being modest. And I think that with with what we've put together in the starting lineup, how well it fits together, what we have on the bench, and the depth we have even behind the bench, I think that's what good teams are made of. And I feel like that it's very possible for us to go win 50 games. I just don't understand why people are saying, like, oh, it's going to be a regression. Teams are going to adjust. Like, teams are going to adjust to what? Us playing defense and hitting shots? Like,
Exactly. That's like
I don't understand it.
we like to do this thing where we talk ourselves into certain guys, like, oh, he'll get right, and then other guys like, I'm not sure, because it's like, I don't know if it's perception, I don't know what it is, because Randall did everything, but as our good friend of the podcast, Earl Monroe, said, a key part of team building is keeping the team together, and I liked what Leon Rose, that is, did this offseason, where he kept the pieces that clearly fit and vastly upgraded the pieces that really needed to be improved. Alfred, and then Reggie, because Reggie was good, but he still didn't have that, like, you saw on those nights when Randall and RJ just didn't get it going, they needed somebody else. I think Fournier on those nights can do that. And now you have the full bench. I think that is one of the best bench units in the league by far. You have Rose, Quickly. I mean, Quickly was amazing in the summer league. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then you got Obi, who looked phenomenal. Then you have the 3 rookies that are coming over. Grimes, Deuce, who is already a Knick legend in my mind. And then you have Jericho Sims on the 2-way contract. So they literally have the deepest roster they've had since probably the Amari years almost, I want to say, which is hard to think about. But I say all that just
I think
to
it's
say
deeper
that.
than that.
Right? I think so, yeah, because I really think
No,
we're
definitely.
13 or 14 deep, where I think Grimes and Deuce can step in spot minutes. Like, God forbid, Kemba goes down or Rose or anybody. I really think you could slide those guys in and they'll be productive. Sure, they'll take their lumps, but I feel a lot more confident than Kevin Knox or Frank Ntilikina. God bless Frank, but I'm happy to see him gone. I have a confession to make. As I was watching the gold medal game, it was late in the game. I'm obviously rooting for USA. Frank has the ball with a chance that I think was to tie or take the lead. Boys, I've never felt more confident about a shot missing than when he released that. It felt so bad, but it felt so good. It was just such a money in the bank. I was just like, he's bricking this shit.
It's just, I just want people to, let's put this thing to bed, okay? Let's move on as a family and just enjoy this new Knicks team, because I'm so tired of being sold on the 2-way excellence of Frank Ntilikina that nobody recognizes. Not even a single team in the NBA at this moment is recognizing. So, look, if he's a good kid, you want to root for Frank. I've always rooted for Frank to prove me wrong. I've said it on almost every episode of this podcast. I said, hey, I don't think this is going to work out, but hey, I hope so. I would like Frank to just start doing stuff. You know, even those games that he did, I would come on the podcast. I'd be happy to talk about it. But, you know, all things must come to an end, and the Ntilikina era has come to an end here. You know, Sean, if you want to give the eulogy for your boy, I will give you the floor.
You know, we all appreciate what Frank did, and you know, I understand like the limitations and some of the frustration with it, and that's fine. He's moved on now. We've moved on now. Hopefully he catches on with another team and gets an opportunity where I think he can be very solid. You know, he's an elite defender. He's a very capable 3-point shooter, and he's a smart basketball player. But beyond that, he was just always, like you said, a good kid, good teammate. I think it's weird how people out there like still hating him even though he's gone, because he never did anything to anybody. He never said anything. He never complained about anything. And I think that, you know, the weird energy that carries on with that is like kind of internal. Because like I know I can compare it to I didn't like Elfrid Payton here at all, as we all know. But now that Elfrid Payton is gone, I feel no need to be right about Elfrid Payton being like, I don't care what he does. He can go over there and have a triple double. Congratulations, bro. He's gone. I don't care. So pour one out for Frank Ntilikina. Thank you so much for your time and wishing you the best going forward. Wish it could have worked out. I thought he was gonna break the Charlie Ward curse, but on to RJ.
All I care about is RJ Barrett's success moving forward. I can't believe how good he's about to be. I can't. I just want to now spend a minute on the RJ thing, the great RJ debate. This was not in our plan initially. We were talking about the rundown today. I just want to slide this one in because it came up organically now. But the RJ stuff from the last couple of weeks, I have never been louder about a player. Me and Mike have never been louder. All of us really, but like since Duke, like we have never been louder about a dude. Like, just that people clearly hadn't been watching or looking closely enough. A lot of Knicks fans included, and people who cover the team. I felt from like the beginning what people were saying about him was just like you couldn't possibly have been watching him at Duke and like seeing what was going, the full context about the lack of point guard situation there, the lack of shooting situation there, how the paint was packed. Coach K didn't really do him any favors. It was mostly just Zion sit in the paint, RJ take the ball at the top and just figure it out. And why would you kick out the 25% 3-point shooters if you're RJ, So, and he still put up, 21-5-5. He had a good all-around season.
Set records.
It was nuts to me. Even the defensive stuff, people are like, well, he's not going to be able to move his body. I was like, he's a guard who's like he's built like a truck. He's massive. Like he's going to kill people, eat them alive defensively. He's going to be stronger than them, long enough to hang with them. Like it never clicked to me how he could be anything other than good in the NBA based off what I was looking at. And then the first season, every rookie season is never going to be as good as the ensuing ones, hopefully for anybody, right? But you saw like clear, like, oh, he can get into the paint. He's got some moves. He's got the Euro step. He can pass a little bit. Plays good defense. Even his rookie year, it wasn't amazing, but he was average. He was holding his own. You know what I mean? And then the next year to take the leap that he did, it was like. I just can't believe how many people haven't watched him for the last 2 or 3 years or watched him consistently or closely enough, or if you're watching the Knicks, you're not watching him. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it really is insane to me that in an era where we have all these stats, right, that supposedly measure the value of players like him who maybe aren't volume scorers, but they do so many little things, and they hustle, they're trying hard. They're playing, they're matched up against, good offensive players, that they're playing good defense. There's good matchup data. Matchup data, which I was told was good to use until it wasn't. Now you can't use matchup data because RJ Barrett's matchup data was good. That doesn't mean anything. So, I mean, every time a stat is supposed to be good and then I'm supposed to listen to it, then I'm later told I can't listen to it. So, I get very confused in all of this because just watch the games, man. Just watch RJ Barrett being good out there. He's a smart player. I don't know why people are so quick to want to be down on him or be out on him or not be sold on him. You got to watch more. I don't get it. I think doesn't every team want a guy who could have as little or as much usage as you want them to have, who could hit 40% of his threes, get into the paint, use his body, defend guys 1 through 3 or even 4 sometimes, depending on who the forwards are. I mean, 20 years old, mind you, just turned 21. I mean, what more do you want from a young player on the rise? I'm not even making this like it's a Knicks thing. I don't know what it is because I don't even think that's true. Because even since Duke, they were doing this with him. I don't know what it is about his game. I just want people to stop it. Really, just go back, especially last season. Watch him the entire game. With nobody else, watch number 9. Just watch number 9. Watch him flying around. I'm begging at this point because it's embarrassing. These people cover the league. These are supposed to be the respected voices that aren't on TV. We're supposed to listen to these guys, and then they come off like jackasses when they don't. You're not using logic. You're not using anything that makes any sense. You're just not. It's not an eye test thing versus stats thing. I don't know what you want to do, but if you're watching the game of basketball and you watch RJ Barrett, you clearly see an intelligent, very, very intelligent basketball player. We've been saying for 3 years. Just watch the games. Watch number 9.
I just want to say real quick, The Athletic, you should be embarrassed to post that list. I'm not even going to give the writer his name because that was so disgusting, and his reasoning for leaving RJ Barrett off, I think it was a top 50, was he had a
top 125.
He put him at 125?
Top 125, and then he also said he wouldn't be in the top 150. He doubled down on it.
And you know what his reason was? His main reason? He has a sub 50% effective field goal percentage.
by .001.
It's
is what
his
it was.
fucking thing is 49.9. Like, have some shame.
49.99999.
Yeah.
And because we every other person you generally use the round up there because that's literally what it is. But for RJ, we're gonna hard line right there to make sure, and that's the reason. Like,
Yeah, what is this, a driving test? It's like literally like I've never seen something so precise. Like, this is the stupidest shit. And you know what really grinds me is if you compare eye test to analytics, technically RJ looks better in the analytical light. Like, if I was looking at him last season, we watched every game, all three of us. I thought RJ had a really good year. When I looked at his stats and his advanced stuff, I was like, oh shit, like he had a really great year. Like, I would have never guessed he shot effective field goal 49.9. I would have never guessed that. I would have guessed like 44, 45.
because
Like,
nobody watches the games, bro. Nobody watches the games. His finishing numbers were way up. It wasn't just the threes. He was finishing in the paint. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. He's 20 years old. Took a dramatic leap in finishing in the paint, not just the threes. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about the defense, right? Everybody talks about everybody else's defense. I got to hear about OG every day and his defense, right? Every single day we're talking about a Thibault, somebody like that. We're talking about their elite defense. Nothing for RJ Barrett. Nothing. Like, it's just, come on. Like, just by your own standards here. If you want to be shining lights on good young players, intelligent players with good all around games, like that's your guy. And refusing to make him your guy, or even like the 125 thing is like, it's inexcusable, bro. Because the whole crux of that argument, the basis for the argument was, well, I wouldn't take him on a starter as a playoff team when he was just a starter on a playoff team at age 20. So what is the argument? Because it doesn't matter if you would or you wouldn't. He was still the second best player on a playoff team in the playoffs. Like, it didn't go the way we wanted to, but he was that's literally what he was at age 20. Like,
He himself, I believe, the writer, made an Alex Caruso comparison, saying that RJ couldn't be a piece on a contending team, which makes no sense to me. Because, like you said, whether it's high usage, whether it's low usage, he can fit in, he can guard. I confidently say 1 through 4. I don't think there are too many 4s in the NBA that RJ Barrett cannot check. Outside of maybe Zion, and not too many people are checking him, or maybe Anthony Davis, who's really probably a 5. But, like, I just don't get it, bro. And even put him in a conversation with Alex Caruso. Like, no disrespect to Alex Caruso, but it shows we're not watching the games. You're not watching the games, or you're just choosing to, that this is going to generate a conversation. You know that it's going to piss off Knicks fans, and that's why, as Knicks fans, we really just I'm glad we're not saying dude's name. We have to stop reacting to certain shit. Certain shit is just very clearly, if you're willing to, because this is stupid. This goes back to that. This goes back to that. If you're this stupid unprovoked, I didn't even ask you nothing, and you just came out here and said this. So I don't know what else you can say. So if you're willing to, as somebody who, like, your reputation is you cover sports, you're supposed to be an intelligent basketball mind, and you're willing to make this stupid of a statement on purpose, you are simply reaching for the attention, and I'm not giving that to you. We're done. Stop giving those things attention. We know that RJ Barrett is a top 125 player in the NBA. The fact that Nerlens Noel made the list, no disrespect to Nerlens Noel, but if anybody watched the Knicks last year and thought that Nerlens Noel was a better player than RJ Barrett, then that speaks to a lot of what they think about basketball, which is, I don't need to hear it. But I'm really excited for year 3 RJ, man. I mean, when he was playing in Canada, that was like 3 or 4 weeks after the season ended, and he was already shooting step back 3-pointers off the dribble, and I was like, oh ho ho. So I mean, I also love the fact that, like, outside of like the LA Sparks game the other day where he was pictured with his girlfriend courtside, I don't really see RJ in the offseason. I don't see him, I don't hear him, so he's probably just in a hyperbolic time chamber. Just, if your job is to speak on sports and this is what you do with your platform, and you choose to be stupid out loud and let us all hear it and see it, then you're not somebody who we really need to listen to or give any credence to the words you speak, because you clearly show that you don't respect your own words. So, I mean, that's all I see. And I think that it's going to be a really huge year from RJ. I think it's being kind of slept on, even by us. Like, as somebody, I am like one of the most staunch RJ supporters of all time. And I don't even speak on it a whole lot because I just can't wait for it to happen. Like, I love in the fact of in the offseason, like, we don't really see RJ. Like, I don't see him. Outside of the LA Sparks game, he was courtside with his girlfriend. Like, we don't see him, we don't hear from him. He's just in the hyperbolic time chamber, becoming great and greater. I saw a picture of him the other day, and he was like super brolic, and I was just like, whoa, like, this is nuts. So I mean, he just continues to get even stronger. I think I love the fact that, like, it seems like the front office has kind of given him the, okay, go out there and guard the number 1 guy every night. So I'm really excited for him to have like a, damn near DPOY type season. I mean, not all the way there, but just to show, because I feel like he didn't get enough credit last year for being a top wing defender on a top defense and guarding Kawhi Leonard one-on-one some nights and things like that. So, I feel like next year there's going to be no choice but to give him the credit for that, and he's also going to take steps offensively. I mean, it was 3 or 4 weeks into, the Canada basketball, and he was shooting step-back three-pointers off the dribble. So I can only imagine what he's going to be doing by the time we get to the season, and I just simply cannot wait.
I said we were going to be obnoxious because of Kemba at the start of this pod, but RJ and his development is another reason to be even more obnoxious because we're trending in the right direction. And I feel like all these signings happen to be 3-year deals, which lines up nicely with 2024. And I'm not going to speak too much on what could happen in 2024, but I'm just saying at that moment, RJ Barrett could be very far along in the star path. And if the team building is as solid as it is right now, there is no reason RJ Barrett can be someone who attracts star players here. Like, I really don't see why that can't be possible.
Remember, I said it when he got drafted, when we were talking about what we thought, like, potentially his upside or ceiling or what the type of player he might look like once he started to really kind of round his game out. And I remember I set the baseline. I said, I think for sure he could be a 25-5 guy. I think a couple years in the NBA, he'd be doing the same sort of thing he did at Duke. I think it's a 25-5 situation. I do. I think he's going to be a decent enough scorer where even if he's not a top level guy, he's going to be a 20-plus kind of guy because even last year, he was figuring out how to get to the line more. He's figuring out how to finally use his body. Year one, he was always fading away, getting a little too crafty. That was the issue. He was trying to put too much razzle-dazzle, a little spin on the ball, trying to avoid the contact. Year two, the issue was he was always looking for the contact. So now he's plowing into guys. We keep going back to that jog game winner, but it was a beauty. But it's that sort of patience, the deceleration, knowing how to step into a guy, find him, take his time. He to me, I don't know how you can see that kind of stuff and not be confident because that's where he's going to pick up the points. That's where you really make the difference. He's going to score 20 on his own, and then I think the rest is free throw. So for me, 25-5 used to seem like more – I was thinking age 24, 25. Depends how the pecking order goes this year, but I see no reason in the next 2 years he can't be that guy. I mean, he gave us, 17? How many rebounds last year?
It was
17?
5.8. It was 6. It was 6.
6?
5.8, yeah. For really cutting, splitting
I'm waiting
hairs,
for the
it's
assists. I'm waiting for the assist at this point, and that's not even really his fault. There was a lot of wasted possessions with offensive initiators because of number 6, as we know. So if you're running this through Kemba, who the whole reason we wanted a Kemba type is you need a scoring guard to go with RJ and Randall. That's all we kept saying. On repeat all last year. Just get us a scoring guard, get us a creator. Start IQ, he's a scoring guard, he's a creator. That's the type of guy that they need. They got him now. So I don't know if it's going to take too much away from RJ. I'm more worried about if Fournier is going to be dominating the ball over him. That was my only real concern. But at the same time, if you watch the way Fournier was trying to fit in with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I think I'm more encouraged now that he probably understands he's not that guy. You know what I mean? Like, not in like a slanderous way. I just mean like, hopefully he comes in and goes, yes, it is RJ and Randall's team. I get that. I'm here to work off them, work off Kemba, whatever falls to me type thing. I'm gonna be good in this role. That's what I'm hoping for from Fournier. To be honest, I think that's pretty reasonable too. So I don't know, but my point is, I think really we're just waiting for that with RJ. Just a couple more assists, couple more initiation sets for him to actually start things off. That's the next step in his progression.
I could not agree more, and that's the spot I'm looking for because we saw last year where there were plays where Alfred would get the kick out to the corner wide open. Now that person's going to be Kemba or Fournier. So I really want to see how those assist numbers look. I kind of want to see how the pecking order goes because obviously Kemba is probably going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But at the same time, when you think of Kemba, you don't think of master distributor. You think of, Kemba, the scorer. So I do want to see how Thibodeau balances that. I still think RJ is going to at least be the second or third initiator, and it's more just depending on what him and Randall do. Just because I think, like I said, Kemba's going to have the ball a lot. But man, I think just the added spacing is just you're going to see a bump of some sort. I would like to see him get to 4 assists a game. I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
I think there's definitely going to be a bump, and as far as the pecking order is concerned, I think that really goes as far as RJ wants it to. And I believe, that RJ is a person who wants it to go far, but I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to create. And if he's doing the stuff of shooting step back threes and things like that, and, he's stronger as a creator, I think those opportunities will be there for him. I definitely think he'll be over Fournier in terms of creation. I think Fournier will be a lot of spot up and, some 2-man game with Randall and things like that. But I think that there's going to be plenty of opportunities there for RJ, and I fully believe in his ability to seize them. So I think it's going to be a really big year from RJ. I don't know if it's going to be a 20-point per game year just because there's a lot of points in that starting lineup. But, he's definitely going to be more efficient. I think that the floor being open for him is even better. It's going to create more driving lanes. Defenses are going to have to be more honest. And I think he's going to definitely reap a lot of that reward. So I'm expecting a really big year from RJ on both sides of the ball.
Definitely.
Would you guys consider a successful season just maintaining his points per game, and then just seeing a bump in the other categories? Because I think that would do it for me. Because I could easily see if he doesn't get to 20, people are going to say, "See, I told you, he's not that guy."
Considering who they just added, I think it's sort of what I said for the team. I don't necessarily need to see them win like a whole heck of a lot more than they did last year, like winning percentage wise. Like, to me, like, this is like maintained now. Like, you want to establish your identity as a playoff contender. You want to establish your identity for RJ as a young rising star. So if you add Kemba Walker and Fournier, two guys who, they're here pretty much strictly for offense, whether it's, assists, playmaking in general from Kemba, or, mostly just scoring in general from the two of them. So if you're RJ and through that, you still manage to just have the same amount of points, I think that's still a win, because now to me you're maximizing your looks because there's less to go around, so to speak. So if you're putting up the same, that means, like Sean said, I think the efficiency probably goes up a little bit. Maybe he's getting to the line a little bit more to compensate, something like that. Maybe it's just his defense gets better and he gets out on the break a couple of times. Like, he might create an offense for himself too. This is a guy who can grab a rebound and go. This isn't a guy who needs somebody to set up for him. So we'll see. He was getting better in transition as the year went on. He was less of a black hole. That was the one place he does not pass, is in transition. But he was starting to look up a little bit better and start to understand the flow of it. So, I'm encouraged, but I'm curious. But I do think it's a win if it's just the same.
And I'm hoping there are more transition opportunities, and that's what actually could make the scoring go up, as opposed, because a lot of times, number 6 was a walker. We were walking the ball up the court no matter what the advantage was. So I think that, a lot of times I would be screaming, like, advance the ball to RJ, like, all the time. He's really good in transition. He's always looking to get out there. So this year, if we look for him for more of those early opportunities, he can get some easier buckets. But yeah, if he gets back to 17 a game, that's definitely a win. For those who would say, "Oh, I told you, blah, blah, blah." Once again, as I've stated before, I don't even hear those people anymore. After they told me he would never be able to shoot and he shot 40% from 3, I don't want to hear what any of them have to say.
And
so
defense.
If he gets to, yeah, exactly. So if he gets 17 points a game, we're still a really good team with all the added offense coming in the backcourt, like Kyle just stated, and he's a great defender. That's an excellent year. If he gets up to like 7 boards and maybe even 4 or 5 assists, excellent year, honestly. Like, year 2 was so great that I'm just looking forward to seeing. I know there's going to be a year 3 jump. I just want to see how big of a jump it is and what categories it's coming in.
And just to put a bow on this, last year we saw him develop, like, really find his game where he knew, I'm pulling up from the mid-range, I'm spotting up from 3, I'm going to get to the rim either with my finesse, if it's a bigger defender, or if it's a baby like Ja, I'm going to muscle him. So now I think we're going to start to see those efficient looks. And like we said, the added spacing is just going to amplify all that.
One, I know we're talking contracts on this pod a little bit because, the Randall contract came up, which beautiful extension. We didn't talk too extensively before, but beautiful extension, because we want to talk about this in the Mitchell Robinson situation. I think it's a good conversation to have. We've been talking about, potentially what it could be for a while, and it looks like we were in the ballpark all this time. So it's great that's a more modest number we could expect. We'll talk about that in a second. But the Randall contract was exactly, again, we're smart. I say it a lot, right? We're smart on this pod. We get a lot of things right. We don't get enough credit for that, I don't think. We said the Knicks got to pounce. If they want to take care of this Randall thing the right way, they got to pounce. Sign this guy right now. Don't worry about, if he might not be the same guy again. You can't do that kind of stuff. He played well for you. He's still not that old. He's 26 years old. He hasn't even turned 27 yet. You know what I mean? This was never a concern for Brandon Ingram or other guys who would most improved. You hear that, and then you go, okay, well, the Pelicans are in good hands, Ingram and Zion. Okay, You know what I mean? That's why I look at it. Okay, you just stepped up. Then Knicks are in good hands. You got RJ and Randall. That's all that I cared about, right? The Knicks did too. They paid him, and this is why you pounce, because now if Randall keeps this up the next 3 or 4 years, he's still on an immensely like low paying contract. Like, and for Randall, now he takes advantage of that success and locks in long term, and now he doesn't got to worry because he got paid. He's getting a raise, not dramatic, but he's getting his raise, and he likes being here. Right? We're winning. It's good. He's establishing, the first true era of his like career of like success. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You this is like how you take steps to build and really establish a culture with somebody. That's why we said it could be anybody, but you got to start someplace. Just sign Randall and see what happens and go from there. I'm glad that they did it. Both parties. I'm very happy that they opted in. I'm glad we get Randall for another 5 years. Well deserved. I mean, he put us on the map. We got 29 national TV games this year, and that's off the strength of having an all-star in our lineup that was able to go out there, lead us, get us 24 points a night, get us all those assists, couple triple doubles. You know what I mean? So that's the reward of that, and for me, that's why you pay the guy. His talent isn't going anywhere. If you ever needed to upgrade, there's always a price for everybody. If you so needed to move someone, it's not the end of the world to pay somebody, keep them here, and just roll the ball back out, get them a little bit of an upgrade, and see what happens again. I'm happy that they did. Really am. I'm glad they took care of it. They waited another year. He could have made more money, but again, made just the most sense for both parties. I think everybody mostly agreed in the Knicks universe that, we wanted to see it. The Knicks wanted to see it. Randall wanted to see it. Everybody agrees. Everybody seems very happy. I'm glad it happened that way for once. We don't get that often, so it was good that this happened.
It's rare to see them do everything right. And the one thing that stuck out for me with that contract extension was that Randall said, "I want to have my prime here." Like, that means something in terms of team build. Like, now you come into that, it's infectious. Where now RJ's probably gonna want to be like that. Now you have Kemba and Fournier coming in. They want to be like that. Obi, I mean, look how much work Obi put in over the summer, man. Like, he looks amazing. And now that's Randall's backup. And Randall, you see on IG pumping up, like, he's really bought into the whole leadership role and is really creating a really fun culture here that we haven't seen at all. Like, we've seen like 90s clips, but a lot of us weren't around for that. And now we're starting to see that again, where there is Knicks basketball. Like, when you think of Knicks basketball, now there's something you think about.
Listen, he's always out there early. When I go to cover the games, he's always out there early. He's usually the first guy out there shooting. He's by himself. I've seen him a lot doing this. Shooting, even the year where he shot 29%, he was shooting threes all the time. I saw him before, Reggie would come out after him. All these other guys would come out after him. And it would just be him chucking, step on threes, step back threes, really trying to get a rhythm for it. He just works hard, man. And, we didn't get to see all the results the first year, but, I mean, now we're starting to see that growth, and I'm glad we get to see his prime here. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, especially as a guy who just improved, all along, and a guy who is, like you said, you go out there, he's out there early. Like, he's just a really, really hard worker, and like, he's not one of those like, speaks on being he's a hard worker by example. The fact, like, the Players Tribune article really just had me more sold than I'd ever been. But, just knowing that the entire team now is landing in a city and following the footsteps of Kobe Bryant and working out, early and things like that, like, that's amazing. And that's a culture that he started to, like, he really helped us put together. He's the leader of this. And for us to establish that kind of culture within a year and a half, where, yeah, like Mike said, now Knicks basketball means something, and you're starting to see it. And even when IQ did his post-game interview one time during the Summer League, and he was just like, that's what New York Knicks basketball is. He was like, just working hard. And, I was just like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, we've really established a culture, and he's the leader of that, and we've locked him in. We gave him what he deserved. He was loyal to the team. He wants to be here, and we're going to see his prime unfold, and that's really exciting. We're going to continue to build around that and continue to improve the team. He's going to continue to improve. And, yeah, like you said earlier, like Earl Pearl said, like, it starts with consistency and, having guys around each other and just building with each other. So, the new guys who are coming in are going to buy into that. I feel like Kemba was saying, him and Evan are both very easy guys to get along with. I don't see them really having any problems. They're going to contribute to the locker room environment, and it's just going to continue to be a great environment. And I think it's going to translate onto the court.
Yeah, and everything we said for Randall, that applies to Alec Burks, who is starting to become really slept on as a player. Nerlens, and then Rose especially, because Rose came in and he really transformed this team, and he got rewarded. Because I saw some people thought it was an overpay, which I don't think it was, but he helped transform this team into a playoff contender. He really got them into shape, and rewarding those guys that doesn't go unnoticed.
You gotta take care of guys in this league. You gotta take care of guys, and it was sort of the conversation that came up organically this week. With the whole Knicks CAA ESPN thing that came up a little bit that we kind of poke fun at. But
Can you explain that for me? Because I'm still slow on the uptake.
Well, there's no explaining it. So first of all, I do like Mason. Mason is a good Pelicans follow in general, but I don't get that argument. I know we're very upset about what might happen with the Zion thing down there or whatever. I know there's obviously a lot of rumblings, which I think is strange because Zion doesn't really talk a lot. He doesn't say a lot. So I think this is, as always, a lot of projecting and posturing that happens from these situations. So there's a lot that we never see and know, but you know what I mean? But I think it didn't really make sense because a lot of those names on that CAA ESPN list are like Rex Ryan and stuff. So, I mean, it's not really a convincing argument. I think just let it go. Sometimes if you're the franchise, you just gotta this, and this is not this is why I'm being fair, because this is stuff that I've said about the Knicks for a long time. You gotta worry about yourself, and you just gotta fix yourself and fix whatever. If this is always happening with your team and your franchise, and I don't even think, I do think some of the poverty franchise jokes with New Orleans are overstated, but the last couple years with the David Griffin era, I was told this is a basketball genius of putting a team together, and they're not really doing a great job with Zion. I mean, I know some Pelicans fans like to argue about that. Look, all I'm saying is it hasn't been as successful as everyone was hoping for. You could argue about how bad or whatever, but that's where all this is coming from. Is basically that they don't want everybody to think it's as bad as it is, or might be, or maybe is, and we're now blaming agencies, which is strange because isn't that the name of the game now? You gotta appease these agencies. You gotta appease Clutch Sports. You gotta appease CAA. Whether you like it or not, this is how the game is played now. There's nothing wrong with it. The Lakers did this. They hired in Clutch, right? And then they started bringing in their clients, taking care of these guys.
KCP? The KCP deal.
And even, look, it's not even just CAA or whatever, right? Because the Celtics are getting on board. They signed Tristan Thompson to a big deal for literally no reason whatsoever. Moved off him pretty quickly because he's a clutch guy. You paid him, made sure he got his money, you took care of him. There's a way to play it. There's a game within the game with these agencies now, and you got to shake some hands, and it's some sneaky stuff, but play the game. I'm sorry. You want to improve? Play the game. Hire some agents. This is how you get in. You got to get dirty.
Just the thought of, the likes of Kirk Herbstreit being the reason that Zion is going to come to the Knicks because he signed the CAA is ridiculous. And beyond that, for a Pelicans fan to be saying, this is how the Knicks are working, back channel things. The Pelicans have been blessed with the number one pick multiple times. They've completely failed. They failed AD. They're currently failing Zion. And I don't know if they want to see it as failing. And honestly, the agency game helped them out. I don't believe that the Lakers just got the number 4 pick. What are the chances that the Pelicans get the number 1 pick so they can get Zion and move on from AD, and the Lakers get the number 4 pick so that they can trade it to New Orleans? So now whether it's chance or not, this happened for you not too long ago, and you blew it. You got all these other assets. You got Brandon Ingram, who came over, won Most Improved Player. He's a stud. You had Lonzo Ball. You didn't make that work. You lost him, and now you have Thomas Satoransky. You got extra picks. You got a lot going on, and you're not making anything out of it. So now you're looking to blame CAA and the Knicks and this agenda. No, if you were winning games, Zion literally got on camera and talked about how much he loved MSG and was beaming. That had nothing to do with CAA. Maybe and then he mentioned New Orleans as an afterthought. So it's if you took care of your own guys and you had Zion in the playoffs, you wouldn't have to be sitting in the offseason where, you talking about this in the offseason makes me feel like you don't believe you're going to the playoffs this year. And now that's year 3 of Zion. I can't imagine having a top 3 pick and not going to the playoffs in 3 years. Couldn't be me.
I mean, worse than that is just that, for example, the West is tough, whatever. I know. But the fact that, there's no clear steps of progress. You're on your now 3rd coach. This is sort of, again, this is what we were always fearful of with Knicks situations. This is us. We've seen this type of failure before where, young guys can't get going because you only keep bringing in new coaches and new systems and new regimes. you got to figure something out, and you got to figure it out fast with these guys. It's a fast paced league. It's results oriented. You got to figure it out and fast. So yeah, I mean, year 3, you have Zion. He still is a can't miss prospect. It's not like he hasn't been doing holding up his end of it. I mean, the efficiency last year is historic.
Preposterous.
It's disgusting. It's preposterous. You should never be able to score that easily in this league, and especially he's not some big towering figure. He just barrels through you like a superhero. It's unbelievable. So yeah, you got to figure out something in fast. And I do think like Ingram is a good player too. So it's not like there's nothing there to work with or hasn't been. I just think you need the right GM, you need the right coach to like really figure this out. David Griffin is not that guy. Pal.gif, whatever you want to call him. It's not working out there. They got to get rid of him, in my opinion. But
Not keep
the Steven Adams extension was the first. I couldn't believe that. I know they moved off of it now. Whatever. I know they have Valanciunas over there now, which is it's an improved situation, I think, a little bit. But I mean, good lord, I would have fired that day. I would have marched right downstairs and I would have fired 100%. Are you kidding me? Like,
It's just
like,
like so good.
are you kidding? You not only traded for him, you extended this man immediately. Get fired. Immediately fired. Immediately.
And then paired Lonzo Ball in the backcourt with Eric Bledsoe.
I mean, what are you doing? What are we doing here? Yeah. So anyway, moving off that, but glad to see our Knicks got it together a little.
Just
bit.
shout out,
Yeah.
hold on 1 second. Just shout out to, there's like 3 Pelican fans in existence, and one of them was in my mentions talking crazy about Pelicans being the better team in the long run. I just hope he's okay today, because that's clearly just not going to happen at any point in time. So,
Now,
shout out to you.
Yeah, and I will say too, the other thing is I don't like when we make it all out to be, oh, it's some vast conspiracy and agenda by the Disney ESPN machine. It's like, guys, even if you think that there might be some truth to these things, and in the case that there is, why do we got to take agency away from the player? Like, if he just wants out and then that's what it is, like, then that's what it is. You can't. There's not always somebody to blame. Sometimes, you know what I mean. Like, that's just what he wants. And as far as I know, the RJ Zion thing, like the friendship is real. Like they do like playing with each other. They enjoyed playing with each other. I know that they would enjoy playing with each other. So it's not unreasonable to think if the Knicks are good, it is a big market. Yes, like that is the point of big markets. I hate having to feel bad about it, bro. I'm sorry. I happen to be born in this area, and I happen to be a fan of the Knicks. And for once, after 20 years of it never working out, being a big market, aside from the Carmelo trade, it might work out again. I'm not going to apologize for it. If Zion wants to come here, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, that is what it is. I mean, that's why. I mean, do the Lakers apologize every year? The Lakers always just trade. They try everything. That's why I respect the hell out of the Lakers. They try everything. They're never afraid. They trade for anybody at any time. They don't care. They don't care. They're the Lakers. They're going to try. We need a point guard. Who's available? All right, do you know what? Just whatever. Trade for Russell Westbrook. Yeah, he's talented. Let's just see what happens. We're going to run it back. See, they just keep trying stuff because they're the Lakers and they can. That's all that. Big markets, man. It's a real thing. I don't care. I don't want to feel bad for it. I'm sorry. I'm tired of this argument all the time. We always got to we got to be the small market respecters. Figure it out. Go. There's plenty of small markets that figure it out. They're good teams. San Antonio perpetually every year. You can do it. Okay. You really just hire smart people. You could figure it out. Otherwise, I don't feel bad for you if you draft players and they want to leave before the third year even starts. That's you. That's a you problem.
Yeah, go
Truly.
cry about it.
Like, Milwaukee just won a championship, so I have no sympathy for small markets. If there's a blueprint, you can make it work. If you're a small market and you're doing a bad, like, we were a huge market and we were doing bad business, so it wasn't working. So if you're a small market and you do bad business, what do you think is going to happen? Now that we're a larger market, we started to put some things together. We got our 29 national TV games. That's beautiful. But last year we had like 2 or 3. Like, we weren't that. So us being a big market didn't win. Actually, that was the main thing they always said about us. Oh, you guys think that you're going to get free agents because you're a big market. Ha, ha, ha. You think this, you're a big market. So all that meant is when we sucked, it got covered every day. When the Pelicans suck, it doesn't get covered every day. You're a small market. Nobody cares. So now that we're good, we're reaping the rewards, the benefits of it, anything that may come out. And we haven't even started reaping them yet. They're shaking about what we may reap down the line. Like, that's nuts to me. Like, please just focus on yourselves. And maybe, I think that's 2024 when he'd be able to do that. That's 3 years away, bro. Figure something out in the next 3 years so it doesn't happen and stop crying. You spend that time crying and you're just playing right into our hand. And I'm truly not even thinking about Zion, to be honest.
At all, because it would be fun, obviously, you know what I mean. But at this point in time, They locked into Randall for 4 years, whatever. So to me, this is how I would see any Zion thing playing out. I'm going to just say this years in advance. I think you guys agree. He's going to sign his rookie extension because, of course, he is. He's going to get his money from the Pelicans because, obviously, as that deal's coming up, he's going to look for another payday. I think he's going to get it again from the Pelicans. I think he takes it. But then in that second deal is when he tries to get out. And then I think that's when a move might happen. But that would then coincide with Randall no longer, I don't know about no longer being here, but he'd be 31, 32-ish at that time. At the end of his deal, if he plays all the way through, with the Knicks. So then you can kind of see, oh, well, now we can sort of realign a timeline possibly. If it were to happen, that's the only way that it would, in my opinion. I think everything else is getting ahead of ourselves. He's not. Every time we always think a rookie's going to not sign that extension, they sign the extension because you're never going to turn down that extension. Nobody ever is going to turn down that extension. You would be the biggest fool ever. It's the worst business you could do. You can get anywhere in this league. All you got to do is sign and then complain after you sign. That's it. Just everyone knows that. So it's what's going to happen. This is a 5 years from now problem. It's just, we always got to talk about player movement way in advance. It's more of a threat to get your shit together if you're New Orleans. That's the way I read it. I always look at these things as though the agency puts them out and it's just like, hey, it's more of a warning shot. We don't actually have a real plan. We're going to sign that extension with you guys. But, come on. Jesus Christ here. David Griffin, can you figure this out a little bit? It's embarrassing now. It's embarrassing. And then David Griffin has to go and figure it out a little bit. That's how, to me, that's what the tea leaves are.
When
But
did David
loser
Griffin
mentality
become
will
looked at?
cause you to blame everyone else.
That's a fact. When did David Griffin become looking as like this messiah of a GM? So I remember when he turned on Knicks, people were like crying about it. They're like, "Oh, they didn't let him pick his team." It's like his team must not be doing a good job because
I wanted us to take David. I'm just gonna keep it a buck, but my opinion was wrong, and it is now changed. I wanted him at the time. I thought he did a decent enough job with the Cavs and everything. I thought, okay, I understand it was mostly the LeBron effect, but I wanted to take a chance. I thought it was worth it, but I'm now glad
outraged.
I'm now glad that we didn't. Obviously, I was very clearly wrong about that.
Wherever he goes, number one picks follow. That's his greatest attribute. And as a GM, I don't really know if that's a good thing because it means you keep losing.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's just like, what have you really done with? Congrats, you took Zion. That's great.
Congratulations on signing Tristan Thompson to a 5-year, $80 million deal.
Yeah, I don't, like the rest of his moves are very sus.
But one move I'd like to discuss is this Mitchell Robinson extension possibly happening or a new deal possibly happening. We here have been saying it's going to be about $50-something million for quite some time. The number that got lofted out, I don't know the validity of it, but it seems to be in line with what we sort of thought is about $44 million over the course of 4 years. The first thing I want to ask your guys' opinions, but just as a note of comparison, Jared Allen, who Mitch was initially getting brought up with as the other comparable young center with the same sort of skill set. Jared Allen got $100 million from the Cavs, so that was a lot. And then on the flip side, the Celtics just extended Robert Williams and gave him $54 million, which maybe a little higher, but I think that's still very fair value for a good starting defensive center, which is what they're paying him to be moving forward. So I think that about makes sense. But I thought that's what about Mitch should be getting. So, Mike, what do you think with this possible Mitch extension?
If it's if it's 11 per year, you have him sign that deal and laugh all the way to the bank with it, because we saw what happened in the Hawks series, how desperately he's needed. And I didn't really appreciate a certain writer calling him out for poor IQ. I think he was just learning the game, and I really think he's developing into a really defensive terror. And we're just scratching the surface on him. And like I said with RJ and Randall, he was doing all this on a very bad roster. And now this year he's going to be with a very good roster. So maybe 1 + 1 = 2 here, and he's actually going to be very good. And you could get him for well below market value. How do you not want to do that? You signed Noel to what? I think Noel got what, 10 mil a year? You're paying Mitch $1 million more, and he's giving you way more production on offense and defense. I really don't see any downsides. I'm not buying into that injury-prone nonsense either. I really just think last year, for whatever reason, was just an unlucky year. He broke his foot on a freak play I think did he break his elbow or something on another
his
freak
wrist.
his wrist on I think it was Randall he ran into. Like those are just freak accidents. That's not brittle bones type of situation here. So I think
thank you for that. Thank you for
we're
that.
we're conflating his first 2 seasons. I don't know what we're doing actually. I can't even explain the Mitchell Robinson pessimism. I really can't.
He just gets held back a lot by things I think he can't. I'm a Mitch apologist, but I think that he always gets held back by things that are outside of his control.
Yeah, things that are outside of his control, and it's crazy because I also think a lot of his recency bias and like kind of a "what have you done for me now lately" thing. And we live in this fast-paced society where people see what you did yesterday, but not necessarily what you did last week. And Mitch got hurt a couple times last year, so people started going with that injury-prone thing. But I mean, he was playing excellent basketball. Like he was, and that's why that made me like the Berman comment even less. Oh damn, you said certain reporter, and I just aired it out. But yeah, like the wasn't blessed with a high basketball IQ. Like I don't think that was a necessary statement. I mean, Mitch came into the league raw and straight out of high school, so it was just like okay, like he's developing. But as of last year, I mean, the way he was defensively, like the stable that he was in our defense, the way that he played pick and rolls, the way that he all of that, like that, you don't do that with a low basketball IQ. So I think Mitch has the basketball IQ we need him to have. And, I think that this year being on the floor healthy with the right lineups. Also, Mitch hasn't played with like a good point guard yet. He's had Alfred Payton his whole career. So, I think that that's going to be huge for him as well. And I think that he's going to have a really big year. I think that it'll help him on both sides of the ball. And yeah, if he can stay on the floor, I mean, even in a game he got injured in, he was like on pace for 2020 or some crazy shit. Like, so I feel like Mitch is the kind of guy that can, and he helps us a lot on the defensive boards, on the offensive boards especially. And I was very loud about it. I think that Hawks series would have been completely different with Mitchell Robinson playing. And I think that because he was out for most of last year, or we became good, people kind of underestimate his contribution. And I just can't wait to see him healthy. And I also love the fact that there was Ariel made a thread about him, about like the way he plays defense and things like that, and like a bunch of different reads he makes, and it was a beautiful thread. And then he quoted it, and he was like, yo, like, I can really go out and get Defensive Player of the Year. He was like, that's what I'm going for this year. And he quoted something else saying, I'm big, like, I'm a lot bigger now. He looks bigger. I've seen the pictures. It's not just, he's going to put on some weight finally. Like, he's, like, legitimately, like, a larger figure. So I just think that, with that, and I love the fact that he's coming out and telling us he's about to dominate. And I believe him. I think that Mitchell Robinson is definitely a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. If he's able to stay on the floor, he's going to make our team a lot better on both ends of the floor. And yeah, 4 years, 44 is kind of a heist. Like, I don't believe it'll be that low, but if it is, I mean, I'll do a cartwheel. I think it'll probably be around 4 years, like 50 to 60, as we've always said. And up to that's a fair deal. And I think that we should lock it in. If it is a thing that can happen now, we should do it now. Because I think that if Mitch stays healthy and the way he's going to play this year, that price is going to go up. And that's how you get closer to the Jared Allen number. I don't think the Jared Allen number is really realistic at all. I think that's an overpay. But I think that he'll play himself into that number if you don't lock him in. So I agree with whatever it is right now, whether it's 44, whether it's 54, whether it's 60, sign it.
Yeah, I agree.
Gotta pounce, man. You save yourself money in the long run when you just pounce. It more often than not, scared money doesn't make money. You got to be aggressive when guys are playing pretty well. You can reasonably bet on some upside. This is when you take these swings. And if you lose on a $50 million Mitchell Robinson deal, that's a decent problem to have, because at worst he's a good starting center, like defensive center, like some for 10 to 12ish million dollars. Like that's somebody's gonna take him in any situation there. So you sign him, you plug that position up for a few years, same way you did with Randall. They work well together clearly. And again, it's not just defense. We know that he's a credible lob threat actively though, because this is not just like one player looks for him. Randall was able to find him last year, right? When he was playing. RJ and Emmanuel quickly especially were able to find him because of the way that those two like to attack the paint. They take similar angles with like how they get in, and then normally the way that they drive always draws a help defender. So what they like to do is they both do it the same way. They play the space well. They see if Mitch is either going to, have that space for the lob or not, if the defender's stepping or dropping back, and then they react based off of that. But he caught so many lobs. When he was healthy, he caught so many from everybody. It was really a beautiful thing to see. And again, that's even with Alfred Payton starting. So you had a point guard who wasn't even passing, and he was still catching all these lobs. So to me, that only bodes well. I think, I never will care about him shooting threes. Never. To me, I never wanted to waste time on that. Be a very good starting defensive center. Catch all your lobs. Couple offensive rebounds. Figure out how to learn to be physical over the years, and that's how you get those extra opportunities. And you get a board. You go back up. You get fouled. You get to the free throw line. You make 1 out of every 2. I don't care, but those are bonus points now. So that's the next step for him. With him saying, he's getting bigger. Like, good, because his athleticism isn't going to go anywhere. He jumps 15 feet in the air. I don't care that he puts on 10 pounds of muscle. He should. If he jumps 14, oh no. You know what I mean? So he should get stronger. Learn how to rebound a little bit better and more effectively. But yeah, bet on this guy. Bet on this guy, of course. Keep betting on these guys. Be proactive with these deals because you lock these guys in. These things might start breaking for you. You lock RJ in on a good extension. He might take another big. You know what I mean? Only good things are going to keep happening here. Stay the course on this trajectory right now. Best case scenario, these guys keep breaking out. He does become a DPOY type guy. That's either great, now you keep him, or B, you have a DPOY guy to start selling to teams for $10 million a year, right? That you have a big piece you could dangle. He's not just a starting center anymore. So just sign the kid.
I mean, on his current track right now, he is at least in a Clint Capella type, right? So getting him for that value and that type of production, because obviously we missed him a lot in the pick and roll defense against the Hawks. That's obviously the glaring need. We also missed him a lot on the offensive glass, where he was a monster.
Mm-hmm.
So at his very worst, I really think he gives you Capella value. And as you play with better point guards, just better players, that's going to highlight more of what they needed. And like I said, it's a no-brainer for me.
He just hustles, bro. He's always running.
Yeah.
That's what
Gym
I love.
rat.
He's always running. Like, he makes up so much ground, and he knows it, but he's never half-assing it. Sometimes these big guys, they know that they can cover ground, so they take a couple big steps, whatever. But he's always he's fast. He's quick. He's always so quick. The one I'll never forget, it's seared into all of our memories, is when he fell down. Remember on that block attempt against the Magic? He fell down, laid there for a second. He didn't get up immediately, looked and went, oh, shit, I got to go block another shot. Got up, sprinted to the corner, and got it. I was like, bro, are you... what an unbelievable, you were late, had the wherewithal to take a second to look and process the situation and go, oh, I still have time to get up and do this. Took 2-3 big steps, bang. I was like, this is amazing, yo. That's saying he doesn't have intelligence bothers me, because that's intelligence, because he knows the floor space defensively and he knows that he can get there. And you see the light bulb go off for him every time he thinks he can. That's why I love when he gets those goaltends too. Be aggressive every time. I don't care if it doesn't work out sometimes, bro. You'll figure it out. You're gonna end up blocking more shots in the long run. I love it. You get $10 million a year. It's a no-brainer, bro. No-brainer.
Yeah, no. New York Knicks basketball is better when Mitchell Robinson is on the floor, and I'm a firm believer of that. Every single time he's on the floor, I feel like we're capable of more. I feel like we're safer. I feel like the basket is protected. I feel, especially now with the improved spacing on the perimeter, that makes it even better for him as a vertical spacer. It's even harder to cut off those lob lanes now. So he's going to be huge. And yeah, I really didn't like that basketball IQ comment, because like you said, that play, and even simply the way that he plays the switches, the way that he's able to cut off the ball handler while also maintaining a reach of the rim and the roll threat. He's phenomenal. And I think that he's one of the best defensive centers in the NBA. And I think he's going to continue to step into that this year. And he didn't have a huge uptick in blocks this year while he was. I think he was actually getting less blocks this year while he was playing. But he was anchoring the. Yeah, he was more patient. He was anchoring the paint. He was in the right places. He was doing everything you want him to do. And I think that for somebody who covers the team and is supposed to be watching and at every game and things like that, there's no way you should be saying that guy has low basketball IQ. I think that just plays into narratives and
Same guy said IQ couldn't play point guard. So
yeah, see, it bothers me twofold, right? Because first of all, normally the foul thing is the reason people think that he's not some intelligent basketball player, and that bothers me because his position inherently is the foul position. That's just the way that it works. I'm the last line of the defense. I'm at the rim, and the way that is called, ref to ref, night to night, is wildly different. The way that they can go up and be vertical, or how aggressive they can go to block shots. Some guys don't, ball's a part of the hand, but sometimes it isn't when you're getting refed, right? So it's not an easy position. And it's not like the guard play anymore, too. You don't always use your hands anymore. You don't always get physical every night with certain guards, right? Some guys are elusive. Some guys don't come near you. some guys play a little bit off. It's not the same with guards. You can't even breathe on them, right? So you play off a little bit. But these bigs still have to go head to head with these guys physical every night. It's not fair to knock him in terms of intelligence. I've said this since his rookie year when people used to call him an idiot or whatever for all these fouls. I was like, he's a big young kid figuring out like the league right now. I don't think he's an idiot. He's got to figure this stuff out. It's a different speed. It's a different strength. It's a different timing. And then the second year we started to see he figured the timing out so brilliantly. So that frustrates me. And then the second thing too, didn't he in his second season he had more blocked 3-pointers by himself than I forgot how many entire teams by himself blocking 3-point shots, because he's an intelligent defensive basketball player, highly intelligent to the fact that he knows exactly how to space his body out to always block a 3-point shot when normally centers are food on the perimeter. He's an intelligent basketball player. He's just figuring it out. So that bothers me tremendously because I feel like intelligence is often conflated to like being some sort of efficient scorer or making fancy passes and I don't think we look hard enough sometimes at the defensive aspect and when guys are specialists like this. So, it bothers me for a number of reasons, but those two specifically. Like you have to be a really brilliant type defensive center to be able to get that many 3-point blocks that early into your career. Because who else is doing that?
No
Not
one.
many.
And I hate the fact that, and this is what Mitch, and I hate when we don't give guys credit for the progress that's made. Like, it means you didn't watch. Because Mitch was playing like 30 minutes a game last year pretty consistently. He wasn't really getting in foul trouble that was taking him off the court anymore. That wasn't the thing that was happening really at all. It was a huge improvement he made. So it's like, for you to still be going on year 1 and year 2 arguments and just completely ignoring what we just saw the last time we saw him, that makes no sense to me. It's a poor argument. It's kind of baseless. But hey,
Low maintenance rim protector with very good defense. There's not much more you can want from the center position, especially with this current starting lineup. Just really not.
No, and you need low usage guys who could just do that. And I'm going to segue here because the only thing we haven't talked about yet is Summer League. And another guy who impressed in Summer League doing that exact same kind of things was Mr. Sims there. And he was a delight. When we did talk about the draft anyway, right before Summer League. And I know me and Sean, we had made that point that you just got to draft that last pick in the draft. Always get nuts. Always draft the athletic guy who looks like he might have wild upside that way. And they did. And he looked like a lot of fun. But, so did Deuce McBride. So did, Quentin Grimes. I thought all these guys looked the part anyway. Quickly and Obi look great. I don't even want to waste time talking about it because like Summer League doesn't matter for me, but they look great. It was fun to see. I mean, they were cooking. Obi really looked good. He looked like he knew. The only takeaway I have from Obi is just like I'm just glad he understood that it was Summer League and he could and should dominate. That's all. And then he did. He was more physical. He was trying things out. Those pull up threes in transition, things like that. A little bit more off the dribble. I like to see. But he did what he was supposed to do for Summer League. He understood what he should be trying to do, learning new things, trying new things out. So good job for Obi. Q did exactly what we thought he would do. So I will say this, though. McBride is my guy from this draft. I think that's the guy I'm going to ride with. I think that's the guy I'm going to make the case for needing minutes or earning minutes more quickly than some of the other guys. Sims looks real fun. I just don't know when he's going to play. I think it's a logjam of minutes there between Mitch and Noel, and maybe he gets some spot minutes behind them, and Taj is really an emergency center, but I don't know. Overall, I was pretty impressed. I like this draft class more than, a lot of them in recent years in terms of totality. I don't really, see anybody, truly stinking here. You know what I mean? There's not, a project and then an instant contributor. It just looks like a bunch of guys who I'm like, I don't know if they're going to play much, but I do think when they're going to play, they're going to look all right. That's sort of my vibe. I don't know how good the upside or anything, but I'm more confident now.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with OB and IQ just for the leadership that they took, where we saw IQ kind of working with the rookies. OB was very vocal on the floor. And after watching OB's renaissance in Vegas, I really have to see OB and Randall minutes this year. We got a little tease of it towards the end of last year. I really want to see that. Right? It's just like his shot looked so much smoother. His release, he was getting shots off very quickly. There was even one play where he got the ball with like, I think it was less than 2 seconds left on the clock. He just missed it, and it was just amazing. Rookie wise though, I think Grimes and McBride. I said a little earlier. I think if injuries happen or whatever weirdness happens, those guys can fit right in. Both of them showed exactly what they can do. Grimes was very. I mean, McBride was obviously the Garden legend already, but Grimes really impressed me, man. He was just ready to shoot. We haven't seen that type of shooter on this roster. I feel like that was a vast upgrade from Reggie, where he's just getting that ball out. If he's open, he's shooting it, and they need that. You put that right next to RJ or Randall or IQ, anybody. That's a spacer, man. That's really impressive. And Sims, great security blanket if injuries happen or trades happen. And then you have Rokas, who we didn't really get to see that much, but I think he could develop into a good guard off the bench, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I really love, and like Kyle said, we're pretty much right a lot. I love when the takes age well. And, this, wow, do I feel like a genius. But we said it with that last pick. You wanna take a big who has that kind of athleticism and upside, and literally that's exactly what Jericho Sims is. And personally, and this may be, a lot of people were like on me about, oh, blah blah blah, you're overreacting. It's summer league. I also think that's a very weak, argument. I think it's lazy. I think to dismiss all summer league analysis as it's summer league, then don't watch the game, bro. Leave me alone. Like, go somewhere else. Like, if I'm gonna evaluate what I'm watching and you're gonna tell me, oh, it's summer league, then don't watch. Leave me alone. But Jericho Sims, he was very, very good at things that definitely translate. He's super athletic. He was catching alley-oops from his back. It was nuts. Like, I think Wayne Sutton lob in the last game was one of the worst lob passes I've ever seen, and he caught it from like literal back scratcher, and obliterated the entire defense. But he protected the paint well. He's a good rebounder. He has like nice touch around the basket, which is something you don't expect from guys. And I was saying before somebody even started, I was like, I'm 2 above average Jericho Sims performances away from saying make him the backup center so we can have an elite lob threat on the floor all 48 minutes of the game. Is it something that's going to happen right away? No. Is it something I can see him playing his way into possibly? You never know. Like, there's not a direct path to minutes for him, but I love the fact that he's capable, and that's all we can evaluate right now. He's capable. That's something that they can hopefully develop, working with Kenny Payne, things like that. He's got some, did I say he's like, a prime candidate to be rookie of the year? No, I didn't say any of that. I said, whoa, this guy looks playable. And they're like, oh, it's summer league. All right, guy, whatever. The way that he just dunked with his head above the rim all over the defender, I don't think that's going to change no matter. You can't remove that athleticism. He's already one of the most athletic guys in the NBA. So I love what I saw for him a lot, but we won't see him a lot. Deuce McBride, Garden legend. I fell in love with Deuce on right before draft night. I saw a clip of him playing defense, and I was like, whoa, this guy, I don't like know the whole class like that, but I was like, there's no way this guy isn't like a top 3 defender in this class. And I mean, he's excellent defensively. He had Sharif Cooper in Alcatraz. It was beautiful. He made him want to stop playing basketball. And then what I didn't expect offensively, I mean, I knew he shot 42% at West Virginia, but I mean, he was a sniper, bro. Like, and he was shooting with confidence. He has like the Deadeye badge. He was shooting with hands in his face. He's shooting off the dribble. He's whatever you need him to do. He's cutting to the basket. He's athletic. He's finishing over guys. He's like a great dunker off vert. Like, what is going on here? Like, he really did everything you really want to see a guy do. So it's like, when you've got the Kemba and Rose thing, it's like between the two of them, there may be some low management or some missed games at a point, and I feel confident in the guy that would be the next step in line, stepping in to take those minutes. Quentin Grimes, I loved from the moment we made the pick. We were all in the draft spaces, and we all went to YouTube immediately, and I fell in love with his jumper, like off rip. I loved Quentin Grimes' jumper. I was like, wow, this is a really smooth jumper, and he's like, he can create it as well. And he also seemed like a long-range defender. And he is. Like, that's the thing. Those guys, Quentin Grimes and McBride, they played excellent defense. Quentin Grimes had Cade locked up at a point. He was guarding him one-on-one. I was just about to say that. That was the most impressive sequence for his summer league. He was great. And it was funny because there was a point in summer league where it was halftime. I think it was halftime like the 3rd game or maybe the 4th game. And I was like, yo, like, I just need Quentin Grimes to stop pump faking. I was like, you have a beautiful jumper, shoot it. Like if he takes the screen and you go under the screen, he's pulling up immediately. But if it gets swung out or whatever on a kick out, he wasn't necessarily so quick to shoot those. He would try to like attack the closeout, and it's like, the reason you're not attacking that closeout as well is because that guy's not there yet. You're supposed to shoot that. And then out of that half, the next couple games, he was letting it fly. 26-point game, 28-point game, and he showed what he's capable of. And you saw that confidence grow and develop. He got to have some more on-ball reps in that game where IQ sat out, and he was creating his jumper. He's doing those things in the mid-range that I loved, the little crossover, boom, 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 step back. Okay, here, hold that. So I really love seeing that. And yes, I agree, Mike. I already think he's. Oof, people are gonna hate me. I think he's better than Reggie. I would rather have Quentin Grimes on the floor than I would rather have Reggie Bullock on the floor 100% of the time. So I mean, he's probably gonna. Alec Burks has those minutes right now. I would love to see him possibly earn those minutes over Alec Burks if possible. Like that's not a bad thing to have happen. But of course, Alec Burks has those minutes. But that's depth. Once again, if we lose somebody at the wing, if Alec Burks goes down or something like a couple times, Alec Burks went down last year. Not saying I want it to happen again. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. But that's another guy who is ready on both sides of the ball. And I think that he would benefit even more from being on the floor with guys who are getting doubled because catch and shoot, he is phenomenal. So yeah, I think it was a great draft class. Rokas, we didn't see a whole lot from, but I mean, I don't even really care. Like those 3 picks, they're ready to go. I think those are guys who provide great, excellent depth for this team, and I'm excited to see what they grow into because they're some dogs, and they also have the abilities on both sides of the floor.
One thing on Deuce, though, this is the hardest shit I've ever heard. I don't know how true it is. I'm going to choose to believe it is 100% true, but Bob Huggins recruited Deuce off word of mouth. Like, he didn't even see any tape on him. He just heard about him. He's like, all right, I'm bringing him to West Virginia.
Bro, he's a killer, man. I like his I just like his makeup as a player. Those are always gonna be like those guards that are a little bit scrappy, that have a little bit of an edge to them. And I know about the defense, but like he could do real stuff offensively too. So I'm like grossly into him, like as the guy from the draft for me. I like Grimes a lot too because for the same reasons you brought up about the Reggie point. I don't even think it's that insane, and I'm largely a pro Reggie guy since we've had him on the spot, as you know, since last year. But it's always about the context of the role and Reggie's limitations, and that's it. Reggie did a great job not doing too much and fitting into his role, and he was good at what he did, which was playing good, passable defense, and then making his threes. And he did that. He worked really well with Randall. So, I mean, that's about it, But he didn't bring that much more to the table. But Grimes, I think he gives you that same sort of 3-and-D, but I think there's a little bit more of a shooting upside potentially, a creating upside, I think, for sure. So we'll see what he could actually do in the real NBA games now. But that's basically all that we wanted to see, though, is sort of the point here is, circling back to the beginning of the pod, just take guards. Put them out there. Hopefully they can score and do some stuff. And what happened in Summer League, we saw a bunch of guards for the Knicks scoring, defending, playmaking, like just doing offensive things, engineering, offense and really creating. So I like that. We all like that. And that's why you gotta be in on these guys. Why you gotta take these guys. You gotta take these swings as many times as you can. Because I feel like a lot of times when you miss on like a wing, like you really miss. And it's like it's a guy who's like really, really, because it's a hard position. You got to be really good as a forward in this league because you might get asked to do anything on any team that you get into. You might be asked to be a 3-and-D guy, just a catch and shoot guy, a more volume shooting guy. Like you could do anything if you were a wing. It's hard. But for guards, normally you got to be able to shoot, you got to be able to play make and hold your own defensively. It's usually a little bit more simple than it is than the wing assignments can be. It is, but. I don't know. I'm just happy. I'm happy. I just saw threes going up all summer, and I really just want to see that this season. I just want to see 3-point shooting now. You got guns here. You got guns. These guards now, you took them, however young they are, however shaky they might be, health-wise or shooting-wise, whatever else, like Kemba's knees or Rose, you could argue if he might not shoot as well again next year, whatever. The point is you got enough guys who are capable collectively now that I don't want to hear any excuses. I want to see shots up in the air. That's the next thing that this team needs, the next layer to this offense, and I think they did a good job addressing that just via the draft. So I'd like to see that mindset continue now. Bring these guys in, let them loose. Less of a leash. Like, Quickly's got to really be able to run this year, man. the more successful he's going to be, I think the more that'll tell us about how they're going to handle this draft class moving forward, because not all these guys are going to be able to play. When they start winning games like this and you start having guys like Kemba and RJ and Randall, there's only going to be so many minutes to go around for these backup guys or these role player positions. So, quickly, and these next couple of guys, like, I think you're going to start seeing the guys we're going to really fill in the cracks for the next couple of years. And I'm curious to see who it is. I like the young guys for once. Like, in totality, like, I genuinely really like the first to third year players here all excite me. You have RJ, you have Mitch, Grimes, McBride, Quentin, quickly, Obi. Like, these are all guys that I'm into, have improved, have done things that have helped this team succeed. So let's see what happens, man. I just want to see who cracks the rotation. Like, genuinely curious. It's almost like a fun game because we don't have to worry about it because we're not depending on them now. Like, that's the best part, like Mike said earlier. So I roll with McBride. I can see why Grimes might get there, though. I would have no problems with it.
And all the young guys, everyone you just mentioned, I like how all of them have the same type of mentality on the floor. Like in Summer League, I didn't see many plays where the young guys took a play off. They were balls to the wall all 40 minutes. And I feel like that's becoming the standard here, which is something I love, as well as the shooting, where McBride specifically did a great job of just pushing that ball up. Sean, you mentioned that Alfred was a walker. McBride's not a walker. He is throwing it up. They're going to be faster this year, and I feel like much like I said, what RJ was finding himself on offense, the Knicks team, Thibodeau was setting up the groundwork for what could happen this year, which is a lot more threes, intense team defense, and I really think they can level up this year because of that.
Yeah, man. It's just funny how things get evaluated because when Tibbs got here, it was, what can they really do in year one, blah, blah, blah. And then we had a really good year one, and people expected to go backwards. And it's just like, no, this was the first year of establishing this culture and this is what we did. So it's like now we've made these improvements. We identified our weaknesses. We drafted well once again. And that was one thing that I just kept seeing out there. I was like, wow, this Summer League roster that's so fun is really just our last two draft classes. And you love to see that. And it's for this draft class in particular, like you were just saying, it's like, it's really refreshing. This is the first Summer League. Wow, I was going to say since. I didn't even know when to say since from. It's the first Summer League that I was watching the players and not having to depend on, okay, can they come save the franchise? And that was a really nice feeling. Like, we're watching these guys and it's like, okay, they can possibly contribute, possibly earn a rotation spot, but, like, there's not this pressure of, okay, like, he's got to be the day one starter and he's got to turn things around here. This is what we need, blah, 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 blah. Like, can he do this? Will he be able to average 20 in a game? Like, nah, like, we're just able to enjoy it and see what, and like you said, they all have the dog mentality, so they continue to, we've established an identity and we're staying consistent within it with our targets, and guys are, once those guys, like, you have those kind of guys, like, McBride is clearly a Bob Huggins guy. Like, he might be, like, the way that they view him in West Virginia, like, they love him, and I can see why already. Like, it's just amazing. So when you have those kind of guys and you bring those kind of guys in, and even Quentin was saying, he was like, being out there with Deuce, like, it makes you play harder. And so, it's just great to have those kind of guys in the building, whether it's on the floor in the games, whether it's in practice, in the locker room, all of that. Like, I just love the identity that we've established, the culture that we're building, and the direction we're going in. It's only up from here, truly. And I really believe that we're going to have a huge year. And I think that it's really nice to be set up well currently and moving forward. And we still have the plethora of picks. We still all that. So, I mean, I think that they've done an excellent job, and this is the best it's felt to be a Knicks fan in quite some time.
Yeah, it's a good situation, man. I'd like to see them move some of these picks now. It's my only next thing. I think you got a couple good groupings of young players here that some of them are not. This is why you got to take all these offensive swings, because guys do need minutes, because they're going to end up being good if you can score. Because that's, again, the point of basketball. I always say in this podcast, but it's neither here nor there. So these guys are now here that can score and do these things, and I think now you can start exploring. All right, well, we might not need any of these picks these next couple of years, or not all of them. We'll save a couple, maybe our own picks, and then you move the extra, move the spares. You gotta overturn some of this, but for right now, as of today, in the present moment, it is a nice culture thing that we got built. Finally, like, I used to mock it every year, we'd hire a new head coach, we'd hire a new whoever, and then everyone was just like, hold on, you got to get every year. It would stink, whatever. Then, guys, the new culture, the new culture, the new culture. There was never a new culture. Hiring somebody does not mean there's a new culture. The new culture happens long after the person is hired because you see what they've then established. It doesn't happen because they began getting employed and started getting their paycheck. That's not how it works. But Thibodeau did that because Thibodeau came in, and it's funny. The two biggest Thibodeau guys were Randall and RJ. He didn't even like when he got there. He was not at all into Randall. He was not at all into RJ, per the reports. And then he came and was like, oh, these guys are okay. I like them now. They work really hard, whatever. I think we could do some stuff. But, like, I think now you could see the buy-in from those three guys. And then that's what makes the rest of this so easy now. Because then it's like, well, if Obi wants minutes, he's not going to start over Randall. How is he going to get them? You better start working hard, my guy. You better start sprinting, flying up that floor. You better start learning how to play defense. I don't care if you couldn't move when you were at Dayton. You better figure it out at this level. I don't care how you get it done. You know, and he did, right? He started making the shots, improving that way. Quickly, I don't think Quickly did anything wrong last year at all. He just never got enough minutes. I just think that was a classic Tibbs thing. Overthought it, didn't give him enough minutes, trusted his own guys too much, you know, Alfred, Rose, whatever. I will only chalk it up to that. He better get a longer leash this year, but I don't know, man. Just a lot of buckets, a lot of scoring. I'm excited. It's going to be a mostly stress-free year because I think everybody's got the proper expectations for the most part. You know, good step one last year. Let's have a good step two. It's been a breath of fresh air this summer. And also, Evan Fournier is just a great tweeter at this point in time. I think that's the other thing that has now become a fun component is I'm very over what, you know, my last podcast episode antics. I'd like him to be good. He's a good follow on Twitter. He's very funny. I'm getting a lot of laughs since he's been here. That's all that I care about. He's won me over very quickly. I apologize. I still am steadfast in my belief that I want to see some defensive proof and some real effort from him this season on that end. But aside from that, I think I'm going to fully walk back the rest of my comments and just enjoy the Evan Fournier experience. You guys have worn me down, man. I'm sorry. You won. It's over, right? It's over. It's just over. The tweets are too much. I can't. I'm just being honest. It's a very fun experience so far. So the Barber tweets, everything, getting mad at the 2K face scan. I mean, everything's hilarious. Every time he tweets, it's hilarious. I'm in.
I'll admit, since I wasn't on the last pod, I don't want to leave you on the island. I was out on Fournier when it happened, but him not being number 94 kind of brought me back in, and now he's 20. Because 94 just has no swagger to it. I don't care who you are. Like, I don't know why he ever thought that was a good idea.
Well, 94, in fairness, was tied. It had a French meaning tied to, I think, an area he was from or a special region of France. So it has a good meaning for him.
I mean, get a tattoo about it. Like,
but yes, playing in 94 in NBA basketball is not.
I like that he found a way to incorporate it.
We don't like it. Yeah, we don't like it personally, but
he said 9 + 4 = 13. Go ahead, bro. I'm with that.
Whatever.
I'll take that.
Yeah. 13 looks much cleaner, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely works for me. So I good for him. And you know what? 13 needed we needed 13 and 6 need fresh starts. All right.
6 especially.
6 especially. You know, 6 after leaving Tyson Chandler, 6 has been through the ringer. Travis Ware, KP, Alfred. I mean,
there has to be a deep dive on the 6 curse.
Enough. All right. Like we need somebody to just wear this number and just be okay. No drama, no anger, no nothing. Enough. It's been a decade. This number is dying to be worn proudly. Dying, begging. So please wear number 6 proudly. Quentin Grimes. That's all that Grimes wearing it, right? Because he traded with Kemba, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Please just be good. Just don't be bad. Really, that's all that we're asking for in that number. That's it.
I feel confident he won't be bad.
Yeah, I believe in Quentin Grimes.
All right. So we covered a lot here, but anything else we didn't get to? Anything else? I mean, on your plates. Been on your mind since we did this last time?
No, I think remarkably we covered it all.
Yeah, I can't imagine what we didn't get to.
Just pretty impressive.
So on that note, gonna go into the usual outro spiel, but definitely for sure next week, make sure you stay tuned because ahead of training camp, ahead of this season, our guys, Ryan, Dom, everybody's been very hard at work. We got a new merch line coming out for the season. I'm likely going to have some sort of a sale go along with this. But you guys really came out and supported last year. You did an excellent job. We like making those shirts for you guys, and everybody's very excited about them. So we got a lot of new stuff coming. Some of the rookies, some of the new acquisitions. So some very, very good stuff we're excited to get out there and wear ourselves personally. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you write this down, but designtree.com/the Knicks wall. That's what you're going to want. So, let's get to it there, but make sure you keep following the Knicks wall on Twitter. We just, we're coming up on 40,000 followers. So, thank you guys. Obviously, couldn't do this without any of you guys. Obviously, best followers in the world. So
Truly.
keep listening, keep following. We're going to be there for you every day, every release, every game night, whatever it is. So make sure you're subscribe to this podcast, give us a 5-star review, because as Sean said before, we're very smart and we're often never wrong. As much as you guys might get angry at me or Sean, I mean, it's just the reality, man. It leads you back here, and it leads to us being right every single time. I don't like it any more than you guys do. I don't want to keep talking about us being right, but it happens at an alarming rate. So you got to follow us. It's just how the rules work. So make sure you're doing that. A good 5-star review would be nice after that spiel of us complimenting ourselves. I'm not sure you will, but we'd appreciate it. Help us keep doing this. And make sure you're following all of us on Twitter. And really, honestly, let's have a great season, guys. I'm excited about it. This really figures to be a stress-free season, I'm hoping, unless things really go left, which I don't think they will. So very, very excited. This is my stress levels, Sean's stress levels after the last couple of years, Mike, your stress levels, the Frank battles, everything else. It feels like a fresh start. Feels like really like a fresh start. Finally, everybody's the collective calm on this fan base right now, that everybody's mostly on the same page, is almost alarming. So I just want to ride this nice feeling into this new season, because really we haven't had one like this. During even the Carmelo era, as good as it was initially, right? People hated the trade, hated how it was going. Nobody was even on the same page into that era, which was the best era of the last 2 decades, right? So this is a new fresh era, and let's do this together. So I don't know. That's all I got. We'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you for listening for the catch-up pod, the off-season catch-up pod. And we will start talking to you guys again weekly, starting next week and heading out through the rest of the season. We'll catch you guys next week. Take it easy.
Adios.